vintage PVC fittings. Let's start with this 1970s Thermoplastics Pvct. This T fitting is 6 in Schedule 80, and it actually has really thick walls. Now this T fitting is made for potable water applications, where the water be pumped up through the fitting. Now if you try to use this on a drainage application, it wouldn't meet code and would actually clog up because of these sharp turns in the fitting. You'll notice how it says NSF in capital letters, and that's how they've been doing it since the early 1970s. Before that, they would do it like this. You can see how it's not in capital letters and the S in the middle is larger. It says PVC, it's a little bit hard to see, and that's the Thermoplastics logo. In this case, they actually put the name on top of it. Usually they do one or the other. Now on my gas regulation vent, I have some old fittings that say TPC. And I'm not sure if that was the Thermoplastics Corporation or not. It could have been a different company. Now, these 4 little dots that I see all the time on old fittings, I'm not really sure what those mean. Here's one of the hubs. You can see this is where the glue would go, and this is where the stop is where the pipe would hit. And back when this fitting was made, you didn't really have proper primer. What you would have done is you'd have had a rag, you'd put the primer on the rag, apply the primer to the fitting with the rag, do it on the pipe, and then the glue was done with the normal dauber where you'd go around and then do the pipe and fitting, and you push the two together. Then in the 80s, PVC primer started to become more normal with the normal dauber that you'd have gone like this with. And on the back, there's nothing too interesting besides that little dot where the plastic came into the mold. The plastic would have came into the mold in the consistency of ketchup, pushed through the mold, and then there'd be a long piece of plastic sticking out that'd be cut off or broken off. And this fitting is really heavy. It's probably at least 5 pounds, which is heavy for a plastic fitting. The next fitting is from the 60s or 70s, and it's this one made by Cabot. It looks like Schedule 80, but it's actually Schedule 40, and both hubs are 2-inch. It would connect 2 2-inch pipes at a 90-degree angle. And because this is for pressure applications, it would clog if you use it for drainage. There's the older NSF. On the other side, there's no more information besides the brand name. And this company made all sorts of things. They even made polypropylene drainage fittings for lab waste. The next fitting is this DWV fitting made by Grinnell. This is an 1.5-inch 45-degree elbow. So it would connect 2 1.5-inch pipes at a 45-degree angle. You can see that's the G that would tell you it's from Grinnell. Sometimes they'd even put ITT Grinnell on the fitting, or a lot of times they'd put this mysterious looking double diamond shape on the fitting, and that was their logo. It says PVC. It's a little bit hard to see because it looks a little bit sloppy. Back then, fittings weren't the cleanest looking. Oftentimes they were sloppy. This one actually looks really good. It says NSFDWV. You can see it's the newer NSF, so that tells you this is from the 70s. And DWV means drain waste and vent. It says made in the USA, and they didn't put that on too many fittings, probably because you expected things to be made in the USA. On the other side, it's pretty much the exact same, except the way they put PVC looks a lot nicer, and it says UPC. They don't put UPC on fittings anymore. That's where the plastic came in the mold. It almost looks like that extra piece of plastic would have been broken off, because it looks too messy to be a cut. It looks like it's broken off. The next fitting is probably from the 1960s or 70s. It's this Genova Fitting. It's a female adapter. So this would be glued onto a pipe, and this would be screwed onto galvanized. Galvanized was still pretty common when this fitting was made. You can see it says Genova, NSF, PVC 1120. The part number is 70315, and it says UPC. This is definitely an older fitting. You can see how it looks very sloppy, but this is new technology back then, so they were still getting everything figured out. The next fitting is actually a combination of a few materials. It's a slip joint 45-degree elbow that connects 2 1.5 or 1.25 pipes. It was made by Chicago Specialty, and the elbow itself is PVC, but this nut is actually ABS. See, it says ABS right there. And how these were connected is you take the nut, slide it onto the pipe. This washer would go on the pipe also, and then you tighten the nut on here, making a watertight seal. We use these connections all the times nowadays, especially on P-traps. Now this won't fit standard Schedule 40. Take the washer out and the nut, it doesn't fit. This is only for tubular piping where the outside diameter is 1.5 inches. The next fitting is this one from the 70s. It's made by GSR, also known as R&G Sloan. And this fitting is 2.5 inch, so you connect 2 2.5 inch pipes on a 45-degree angle. Now if you look right here, it says DWV, but I can tell by the length of these hubs that this is a pressure fitting. So they accidentally put DWV on here when it's supposed to be a pressure fitting. And that's the head of a screw. When they were screwing this part of the mold on, the screw head would show up in the plastic. Schedule 40, that's the part number right there. There's the inside of the fitting. This is where the glue would go and the pipe would go in. On the other side, there's no more information. That's where the plastic would have came into the mold. And GSR was basically like the Spears that was more popular in the 1970s. They made all sorts of plastic pipe. And this fitting is somewhat of a mystery to me. It's a thin wall sewer and drain fitting. It's gray PVC, so it's probably from the 60s to 1980s. And it has no brand on it. It has all sorts of markings on it though, like PVC, 4-inch. I'd assume that that's some sort of part number. So there's no real way I could identify what this is. I'm not even sure if this is thin wall DWV or if it's sewer and drain. It could be either. The next fitting is from the 70s or 80s, and it's this Mueller fitting. This is how a lot of older Mueller fittings looked. There's the Mueller logo. They still use that. I think that's a part number, NSFDWV. It's the newer way. And then made in USA. Other sign, same thing. You can see how sloppy it looks. These plastic pieces are very sharp. That's the inside. And this is a 2-inch vent elbow. So this would connect 2 2-inch pipes in a 90-degree angle, and you could only use this for venting applications where no water is going through this. Because it's venting, you can use it any way you want to.